You've all heard of Paul Revere, right? The famous midnight ride, "The British are coming." It's a story we learn in school. But what if I told you there was another midnight ride? One that was twice as long, far more dangerous, and undertaken by a 16-year-old girl. And what if I told you that most of us have never even heard her name? Let's set the scene. It's April 26, 1777. The American Revolution is in full swing. 2 years after, Paul Revere's famous ride, a messenger, exhausted and mud-splattered, arrives at the home of Colonel Henry Ludington in what is now Putnam County, New York. He brings devastating news. 2,000 British troops have landed. They've already sacked a nearby town and are now marching towards Danbury, Connecticut, a crucial supply depot for the Continental Army. Colonel Ludington was the commander of the local militia, about 400 men scattered across farms and homesteads over miles of rugged countryside. He needed to gather his men and fast, but his messenger was too exhausted to go any further. Who could possibly ride through the dark, treacherous night to sound the alarm? And that's when his 16-year-old daughter, Sybil, stepped forward. She volunteered. Think about that for a second. A teenage girl volunteering to ride alone at night through hostile territory. Her father, knowing the urgency and trusting his daughter's courage and horsemanship, agreed. He gave her a stick to prod her horse and to defend herself, and just like that, she was off. This was no leisurely ride. It was a cold, rainy, pitch-black night. The roads were muddy, unlit trails winding through dense forests. Sybil galloped from one farm to the next, pounding on doors and shouting, "The British are burning Danbury, muster at Ludington's." She wasn't just a messenger. She was a one-woman alarm system, a symbol of defiance riding through the storm. Her journey was about 40 miles long. Let me put that in perspective for you. Paul Revere's ride from Boston to Lexington was about 20 miles. Sybil rode twice that distance. And her ride wasn't just long, it was perilous. At one point, she was ambushed by a highwayman, a robber who preyed on travelers. But Sybil wasn't about to be stopped. Using that simple stick her father gave her, she fought him off and spurred her horse Star onward, never breaking her stride. She rode all night, from 9 p.m. until dawn, covering those 40 miles and successfully rallying almost all 400 of her father's militiamen. By the time Colonel Ludington's troops reached Danbury, the town was already in flames. They were too late to save the supplies, but they weren't too late to fight. They marched on, joining forces with the Continental Army at the Battle of Ridgefield. There, they harassed the British forces, engaging in skirmishes that significantly weakened the enemy as they retreated back to their ships. They couldn't save Danbury, but they made the British pay for it. Sybil Ludington's bravery didn't go unnoticed. After the battle, none other than General George Washington himself traveled to the Ludington home to personally thank the 16-year-old girl for her incredible courage and service. He recognized that her ride had made a real difference. So why is Paul Revere a household name, while Sybil Ludington is a footnote in history? Well, Revere had a great PR agent, the poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, whose famous 1860 poem, Paul Revere's Ride, cemented Revere's legacy in American culture. Sybil, on the other hand, had no such poem. Her story was passed down through her family and was only written down decades later by her great-grandson. For a long time, her incredible feat was nearly lost to history. So next time you hear about the heroes of the American Revolution, remember the 16-year-old girl who saddled her horse on a dark and stormy night. The girl who rode twice as far as Paul Revere, fought off an attacker and rallied an army. Her name was Sybil Ludington, and she was the teenage hero of the other longer midnight ride.